What is up, comic fam, and welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark, and today we're going to be looking at what books I'm pulling for this coming week's new comic book day. This is the Legion list. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at this coming week's new comic book day, December 8th, 2021. Or if you live in an area that releases their DC on Tuesday, it starts on the 7th, this guy. So this is another great week. Last week was a huge week for DC. They dumped all kinds of titles, tons of annuals. It was the week of DC annuals. And this week isn't much smaller across the board. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. A lot to be pumped for. And let's get right into one of the biggest ones, and that's Batman issue 118. So this is a new era for the Bat. So Tynan's run is finally over. Wraps, finito, dunzo. Joshua Williamson, who's crafting the DC Omniverse right now with Infinite Frontier, Justice League Incarnate, is stepping over to helm the main flagship title that DC has right now, Batman. So Williamson stepping in as the writer. Jorge Molina is stepping in as the interior artist as well as the cover artist for this A cover right here. I'm super pumped for this. So after the events of Fear State and everything settled down, Batman's actually dipping out of Gotham for a while. He's going international. He got a beacon distress call from Batman Incorporated, and he's leaving to go check it out. So more or less, this is a great move, in my opinion, to kind of just get past this bogged down Tynan era. Like, I know some people enjoyed it, but man, it was too much, man. Batman was unrecognizable. I've said it before. It was like a Tron Legacy fueled neon fever dream, man. It just wasn't my cup of tea. So I'm excited to see him kind of change his style up. He's got the yellow symbol on his chest again. Absolutely love that. I'm really excited for this. He's going to be dealing with a new villain called the Abyss, who looks very similar to Ghostmaker. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if that was just a little bit of lack of creator insight or if it's going to be like something that actually plays into it. I'm excited to find out. I'm excited where Batman's going. So pumped for this new run. I'm definitely on board for this. And I also made sure I picked up that exclusive from Big Time Collectibles that they did. Channel sponsor. Be sure to check them out at bigtimecollectibles.com. And if you hadn't seen it, it is a gorgeous Miko Suyon cover. They did a trade dress, a minimal black and white, as well as a Virgin BTC edition pre-graded in a 9.8, limited to 300 copies. So check out Big Time Collectibles. Their link is in the description to all my videos. Next up, we have Dark Knights of Steel, issue number 2 of 12 from Tom Taylor. So this is just a DC Elseworlds title. That first one was insane. It was so cool. Basically, all your DC characters you think you know and love, completely reimagined in a sword and sorcery style of story. Very heavy on the excesses. Like, Tom Taylor's known for kind of pushing the envelope with like his Deceased run, his Earth 2 run, his Injustice run. This has already proven to be no different. It was such a great first issue. I'm pumped to get this second issue and see this world evolve and see these characters in a whole new light. So be sure to check this title out. Do not miss it. Next up, from Image Comics, crossover number 10. I can happily say I'm excited for this book now, ever since issue 6 hit and kind of just finished out that first arc, and then Chip Zdarsky just kind of gave us a reset with that one shot he did. This book has been solid. Now that we know these characters like Ellie and Orion, and we kind of know where to put our expectations and everything, it has been really fun. They're kind of leaning into that creator killer mystery that's going on, so I'm excited to see where that takes us. There's a lot of little mystery, like rabbit trails to go down, and we started going down some of those, like the man who's drugged up, kind of predicting the future, who's got a beard and the long hair, and you assume that it could be Donny Cates himself in his own book, which would be pretty fun. But I'm excited for this next issue, excited to see where it goes. That last issue ended with like the death of Scott Snyder by batarang to the chest. So who knows what we're going to see next. Definitely excited for it. But even more excited, Swamp Thing number 10. So we have Levi and his brother Jacob coming to a big confrontation in this issue. He just went and stormed the castle at the big think tank that was trying to get a sample of him to use for their own reasons of medicine, weaponry. They were pretty straightforward about wanting him for everything in the book. But he came through, cleared house, and he just ran into his brother, who is also like fueled like he's an avatar of nature himself, but we don't know what shape or variety at this point. But I'm excited to see this to come to an head. I'm also excited that this book was such a hit. It was so well received that DC went to Rom V and to, I think it's Spencer that's helping with this one, and they extended it by 6 issues. So it's now not a 10-issue limited series. It's a 16-issue limited series. So the deal they had with him was if this miniseries sold well enough, they would sign him up for another one to work on down the road. Well, instead of doing it separately, they just went ahead and bookended it. They just extended this one. And as you can see from the cover, by popular demand, extended to 16 issues. So this is one of those books I was talking about. I have another one that I might not be buying to read. I'm getting this issue to read, but Brian Bolland has done this gorgeous B cover for it. Just absolutely caught me, man. So I'm probably going to be picking up this copy for myself or to throw into a Legion Loot giveaway box for the channel members. So if you are one of the channel Legion members, this could be going into the next mystery box for the monthly giveaway. And if you're not a member, be sure to hit that join button down below next to the subscribe button. Check out those options and consider joining the channel. It tells you what all you get for it and all that good stuff down there. And be sure to check that out. Next up, we have Superman, Son of Kal-El, the 2021 annual. So that last issue came and went with a big fanfare. Came with a big fanfare, kind of just went by like there's nothing to it. That was the big coming out issue that Jonathan was bisexual. It was really like not a big part of the book, and it was actually not really done very well, if you ask me. It was kind of pushed in at the end, kind of out of context and everything. It was weird, but needless to say, I'm excited for this annual because Lex Luthor is returning. We haven't really seen Lex since Death Metal itself. We saw him as Apex Lex going into Death Metal. Then in Death Metal, just kind of like a shell of who he was, all scarred up and everything. So now we're seeing his return to the main continuity. And just who knows what he's going to be up to. Like Jonathan thought he had his hands full with his dad gone. It's about to get a whole lot worse, I'm sure. Next up, we have Suicide Squad, issue number 10 by Robbie Thompson. This book continues to just blow me away every month. Now, I will say that last issue was not one of the strongest, but it was still good. We're kind of getting these 2-issue story arcs where Amanda Waller is sending teams out on expeditions to gather things she needs for her master plan. And she needed this one final piece, and it was on Oa, and it's a piece of Owen technology. And it turns out that it was actually a person. So they're trying to get the hell out of Dodge. They got it. They're trying to get out. It's not going good at all. They're being chased by ring slingers and Thanagarians alike. So we'll see if they're able to get out of here in one piece, which is probably not going to be the case. I'm sure they'll probably make it out, but how many that went is probably not going to be how many return. So I'm excited to continue Suicide Squad and to see how it's expanding the DC continuity by kind of latching onto all these other titles and just planting seeds all through them. It's just been a blast to read. Next up, the Eltarian War is kicked off in full gear with Mighty Morphin number 14. We found that Zordon's tank got busted, the command center destroyed, Zed's base destroyed. The Eltarians were on just a mad dash of just wrecking everything right out the gate. So the Rangers are trying to find a way to just kind of get a breather, to get somewhere safe and kind of figure out what they're going to do. And this is kind of a spoiler cover because we know that Zordon is encapsulated in a portable tank right now, so he's not dead or gone permanently. And it looks like he's going to be getting a physical form to host. So I'm so pumped for that. We did find out that the Mighty Morphin team and the Power Ranger, the Omega team, are back reunited for the first time in like a year now. So this is going to be awesome to see how rough this dynamic is, and if they can come together like butt cheeks to fight off this Eltarian War and save the planet from this invasion. Next up, oh my God, this book has been wicked. We have Arkham City, The Order of the World by Dan Waters, art by Danny. Dude, I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. It completely caught me off guard. It's a total street-level horror story told from the streets of DC Comics. So it's set in Gotham, obviously, with A-Day letting loose a lot of people that were housed in Arkham Asylum. They're spread out all through the city. It's basically these detectives are working on trying to rein them in and get them in, and they're using one of the doctors from Arkham to help criminal profile and find where they could be. But she's kind of playing both sides of the fence, this mysterious character called the 10-Eyed Man, who is a nut job is right there with her. She's like keeping him close to the vest, not letting the authorities know that she knows where he is and is working with him. He's doing some weird stuff like removing people's body parts without leaving a trace of how he did it. All kinds of crazy stuff is happening in this book. But in this issue, I'm really pumped because my boy Solomon Grundy is getting a big feature in it, and he's supposed to be hosting these two around, kind of giving them some backstory and history on the underground Gotham, basically, where he specializes in. So I'm excited to see Solomon Grundy. I'm excited to get a little bit of story from him. And yeah, definitely can't wait. And the next book we have on the list is a Jane Gang alert. We have Cowboy Bebop #1 drops this week. Now, I honestly do not have any interest in reading this book. I'm not familiar with the anime or the mangas or the new show that came on Netflix. I did watch the first episode about a week ago. Didn't blow me away. Wasn't bad or anything, but this is a John Jane cover, and it's not really my content. So I won't be reading this one, but I am getting the cover to keep the collection 100% complete. So hashtag Jane Gang. Be sure to check that one out. Next up, boom, World of Krypton by Robert Venditti, cover by Miko Suyan, and Mike Oming is doing the interiors on this. So we're going back to the last days of Krypton. We're going to go get some of that dynamic between the Zods, the Elves, and a little bit of Kara Zor-El probably in there. And this is a 6-issue miniseries that I'm super excited for. It reminds me already, just in premise, of this novel that came out like in the early 2000s called The Last Days of Krypton, which was one of the best superhero novels I've read. I'm hoping that this kind of brings that same heat to it and some of the same dynamic and some of the same backstory and adding to the mythos of these characters that we all know. And this is just, Krypton was just such an interesting place when you get these stories about it and like their politics and the way that like they went about their daily lives, more than just that literal last moment, seeing them send Clark off in the rocket and everything. So I'm excited to get this one and to see what they really add to the mythos and what we can potentially bring with us into the current timeline. So I'm definitely pumped for that one. Next one, I'm going to roll the dice on this one, guys. I've tried it numerous times now when I'm trying to step over and check out a Marvel title and hope it is something worth reading and keeping around. I tried it with Death of Doctor Strange, didn't work. Spider Shadow was okay. Empire was horrible. Like it seems like whenever I step over to Marvel to try to get some content with these Marvel characters I just absolutely love and have loved since childhood, they keep letting me down, and I do not continue reading them. But Chip Zdarsky's writing this one, and Daredevil, the run that's wrapping up from him, is one that I've just regretted not jumping on from the start for a long time now, and still haven't jumped on. Didn't want to jump on in the middle. One that I keep telling myself I'll go back and read from the beginning. But needless to say, this is the big event that is kind of capping it all off with that run ending. They're going to do it in big fashion with a 6-issue series called Devil's Reign, where Wilson Fisk has taken over as mayor, and he's got it out for all the characters you see featured on the cover of this and more. So I'm going to check it out. I'm hoping it's going to be good. Chip Zdarsky is one of those writers that just does not miss. So hoping this will be fun. Really, really excited about it, and something to talk about. I'm sure a lot of people out there will be reading it. So please be good. Please be good. Next up, in the final book on my pull list for this week is Billy the Kid, issue #3. So, man, this one is good. J.B. Gary is writing this. It's an independent book, like super small press, but there's a word for it where people are replaced by animals and the story is told just like as if they were people. But it's basically a classic revenge Western story. Character's family gets killed by this hurricane, and the hurricane is actually an actual beast of a kind, that you can go out and hunt and return. But he's been trained. He's up to snuff. He's out there knocking out demons and varmin and villains, and they kind of introduce this lore and this mythos to this world where what he's being trained as is called a gunslinger, and they're something more than just a typical shoot 'em up, bang bang gunslinger. They're magically endowed, and he could potentially be the last gunslinger or the last Jedi, almost, if you will. And this book has just been a blast. So big kudos to Pocan Joe for putting me on this book. Cannot thank you enough. It's been a blast. Really excited for this issue. So that's it for my pull list for this week. That's all I've got on the Legion list. If you want to know what my #1 pick is for this week and why, check out the Comic Vets channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Sunday, he'll be dropping a collab video with him and I do, where we give you our top pick for the week and tell you why you should consider picking it up. Also, big shout out to the Augusta Book Exchange. They are the keepers of my comics, the guardians of my pool box. They always make sure everything I'm looking for is safe and secure and waiting for me. Every week when I get there, you'll find no better customer service anywhere be sure to hit them up on Facebook, and he's over on Instagram now. And if you're ever in the Augusta area, look them up, stop by, tell Paul and Donna, hey, let them know that we are Legion. And a big shout out to channel sponsor Justin Comics. If you need any books cleaned or pressed, be sure to hit him up on Instagram. He can take care of you for as little as $10 per book. He can even submit directly to CGC and CBCS. Use that promo code We Are Legion and take advantage of that buy two get one free promotion we've got going. And as I mentioned earlier, big shout out to channel sponsor Big Time Collectibles. They are the sponsor of the monthly Legion Loot giveaway for the channel members. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and Facebook. They are dropping bangers constantly. You do not want to miss out on the great stuff they've got going on. And definitely consider joining the channel. Hit that blue button down below that says join and become part of the Legion yourself. We've got 52 members strong. I'd like to thank each and every one of you. And if you see any names on here you're not familiar with, be sure to go follow them over on Instagram or check them out here on YouTube. A lot of these people are putting out great content on one or both of those platforms. All right, guys, so that is it for this week. Be sure to join me every Sunday night, 9 p.m. for At Week's End, the spoiler-filled look back at every week in comics and so much more. Cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. And until next time, guys, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.